Call your
sponsor.
sponsor. Call you sponsor. Call you sponsor.
Call you sponsor.
Call you.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor.
With his podcast when he's, having someone on like Josh Brolin and being like, yeah, man, when we're at the 12-step meeting, and then Josh goes and talks and, we left that meeting and I'm just like, wow, guys, that is so not upholding the traditions. And then Dax relapses and I want to point a finger and be like, aha, it's because you broke your anonymity. And then plot twist, so many people online completely identify with his experience and end up getting into recovery. So what do I know?
It's very interesting because, I know my experience is there wasn't a celebrity that I was following. If there was, I feel like my motive would be really skewed. That I really wouldn't be there just to recover. I would just be there for to go out to lunch or something,
Yeah. Oh my God. When I first moved to California, I walked out of a meeting in Brentwood and saw, I will not say his name because he has not broken his anonymity, chef's kiss to him, but one of the most gorgeous actors on earth with beautiful blue eyes and a black turtleneck. And I thought if I had come to my very first meeting and seen him, I would only be coming back to the meeting to see him again.
My experience, there hasn't been anything like this that I've actually experienced in anywhere else in my life. The one other thing I'll mention about anonymity is this thing of so I used to go to this meeting, and what's happened numerous times at different meetings, but I would bump into people that I knew from my professional life.
Oh, yeah.
And they would ask me, oh, where are you going or who's that or whatever. And I just say, oh, they're a bunch of friends. I'm very clear that by me saying, oh, I'm going to a meeting, if I were to say I'm going to a meeting and they don't know I'm in recovery, then I'm having to explain that I'm in recovery and then by default, I'm breaking everyone else's anonymity because, oh, there's Sam going to his 12-step meeting and, oh, I didn't know those guys were sober too. And, and so I guess for me, there's that thing of, it's creating that safe space, not making it about me and having this be a sacred spiritual space, ideally.
Right. That's a really good point. I personally only bring my anonymity one-on-one. I don't. Yeah, it was really hard. I actually worked at a place where there was a popular men's meeting that would meet at noon on Wednesdays, and I worked at the place.
Oh, wow.
And so all the guys would come in and some of them knew me. And then people at work are like, how do they know you? I'm like, oh, I'm friends with his wife. And then another one was like a celebrity was coming to the meeting. And, all the people in the office were like, look at that celebrity. And I was just, it was torture.
No, I was just envisioning you at this place. And do you have any other thoughts or things about anonymity?
Yeah, I have two stories. One is watching my favorite reality show, Vanderpump Rules, back in the day. And one of the main characters started dating the waitress that worked at Sir, and that is right across from a very popular meeting in Los Angeles. And at one point, she's like, I need a meeting. And she said, why don't you go with me so you can see what my meetings are about and how important they are? And they walk over with a full camera crew to a meeting in the log cabin. And they proceed to have a meeting. And I was watching that, and obviously I'm watching it 6 months after it had been filmed. Like, it wasn't going on down the street, but I still wanted to run over there and beat on the table and go, what are you people thinking? They were literally on camera sharing,
like people's faces.
Yes. Yeah. It was full
Whoa.
on reality show. Just them sharing in a meeting on camera.
Whoa.
And I was so appalled and furious at everyone in that room who more wanted to be on camera on a reality show than protect the traditions and principles of Alcoholics Anonymous.
That's crazy to me, because they would have had to sign releases for their faces to be used on the screen.
Yep. They would have, and they did, obviously. It was, and I wanted to call up Bravo and just be like, but it's not, the onus isn't on Bravo. They don't know the traditions and
Right.
principles, but the onus is on the club to be like, what the hell? It was just insane.
Yeah. And the members, it's a tradition.
Yeah, it was horrifying. And then the other one, and this is totally a tall tale. I have never been able to confirm it. I've never even looked to confirm it, but it's such a good example and such a good story that back in the day when Johnny Carson was on the Tonight Show, and you know, for younger people listening, there were only 3 channels back in the day, and everybody tuned in to the Tonight Show. And he was saying at the end of one of the nights, he says, by the way, I just want to tell the viewers that I found out I have a drinking problem, and I've been attending meetings of AA, and it's really been helping me. And, you know, he closed out the show, and the band plays. And then the next morning, people open their front door. And this is back when everybody also looked at their newspaper to get all their news. And the front page headline is Johnny Carson wrapped his car around a telephone pole because he'd been drinking and driving. And the message was, I guess that AA doesn't work, you know?
Wow.
So I just feel like it's, what is it? The pride goeth before the fall. Like, part of the reason for anonymity is the minute you say you're at the top and you've got this is the minute I think you fall.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't realize that was a thing. Yeah. That's, Okay, so what now? I want to police these people. This is an invitation to live and let live and mind my own business and call my sponsor, screenshot and send it to you.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I tell that Johnny Carson story as much as I can to newcomers. You know,
Yeah.
I would like them to uphold that tradition at the level of Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, everything else at least. And from then we will deal.
It's interesting. I guess the other thing that comes up for me is this thing about motive, right? And when I do see it on my feed as I'm scrolling, the police in me, likes to look at the number of likes for each of the posts prior. And there usually is like this clear spike in likes and acknowledgement for when they're calling and breaking out anonymity. And I can't help but think, oh, God, I would love to have that spike sometimes.
I love
you know?
this. This is my favorite part. Like, this is my favorite part of doing this is telling on ourselves and saying, like, in this moment, I'm coming from ego and it looks really good to break my anonymity. And like, everybody will give me a lot of likes. And that feels, it's a dopamine hit. And I think all I have to do for me today is just be honest with myself about that. That's it. I don't even have to do anything else. It's just like, yeah, I sure would love to break my anonymity, and maybe I will, even giving myself permission. Like, maybe I do that one day, and can I love myself through that, even though I've been judging it all these years?
I love that about you. This whole like, subject to change, because I'm just like, no, it needs to be like this all the time,
Right,
and
right.
exactly how we started of, sobriety and saying I'm sober or living a sober lifestyle is very different than what it meant a few years ago. This was pre-sober curious movement, zero proof mocktails and all these things that it's like, it's a whole different world just in however many years, where sobriety and saying sober doesn't necessarily mean AA and 12 steps, so
Right.
I love this idea of it's all subject to change. And it's about that inner getting honest with myself and really what is my motive.
Good point.
Any last words or questions?
Let's do one of our 5 questions. Why don't you hit me with one?
5 questions. What is something?
Any question.
Any question? What is something that that you're evaluating as subject to change,
Wow.
or a recent subject to change that you've,
That is awesome. That is a really good one, because I say that a shift in perspective is a miracle. I don't say that. Let me be clear. I think Marianne Williams said it. Maybe there's a rabbi that said it, but either way, it's something I like and subscribe to. And something that I used to be dug in about and have since been more open is inner child. And reparenting.
Tell me more.
I just always felt like that was such bullshit. They'd be like, oh, you need to do your inner child. And I'm like, that is the dumbest stuff I've ever heard in my life. And now I'm doing some work around that. And I'm like, oh, I was very wrong. This is like, there's a lot of growth. There's a lot of stuff here. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
How about you?
Yeah.
I love that question.
So something that I'm shifting that, subject to change, I would say it's the amends stuff, where I always bristled and eye rolled when someone was like, yeah, we put ourselves on our amends list. And I'm like, who did I hurt? All this stuff. And as I go deeper, what I'm really connected to and really learning, it's like, am I moving closer or further from a drink? Am I moving closer or further from people in 8 and 9? Right. I'm so quick to cut people out. It's a disease of isolation,
right.
For me. And where am I cutting them out? And it's also for me having different conversations. And not only with others, but with myself. And can I be, like what you say is, kind and gentle and loving, irregardless of what I'm doing. And, I can be my harshest critic and my worst enemy. And so part of what I'm exploring is this thing of speaking kindly to myself and being more gentle than I have in the past. Because ultimately it's just the part of the cycle. What I'm putting out is what's coming in, and my judgment and criticism of others is really what I'm doing to myself.
I love that. Great job.
You too.
So true. So true.
I'm proud of us.
Same. Good job. We don't have to call our sponsor.
No, not today.
But bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor. Call you.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor.
New episode tomorrow. Send us an email, bcysponsor@gmail.com.